Should Mickey Loomis be fired after the Derek Carr debacle that we sat through this week? As Saints fans, ladies and gentlemen, that is the question today. The question posed to you. We're going to do a little bit of conversating back and forth. We're going to have a little video essay, if you will. Now, hold on a second. Are you writing yes in the comments below right now? Wait, did you just pause? If you're going to say it, say it. If you're going to type it, type it. Say it with your whole chest. The face of the franchise sees all. I can see you down there in the comments below. So I had a commenter reach out to me and in earnest asked me, look, the last 4 years have been real bad. Derek Carr, the signing, Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, like the whole thing has just crashed and burned. And now we're going with Derek Carr again, going into the 2025 season. Is there any other GM, truly, is there any other GM that could survive this? So instead of commenting about it or whatever, I'm going to make a video about it. This is an interactive video, so be prepared to answer questions. Now, the first question, real quick, just off the top of your head. Which franchise would you rather be? The Denver Broncos or the New Orleans Saints? Second question, follow-up question. Which GM would you rather have right now? The GM of the Denver Broncos or Mickey Loomis? Now, are you on Google? Are you Googling who is the general manager of the Denver Broncos? If you are Googling that, I'll save you a Google. It is George Paton. Okay, George Paton is the GM of the Denver Broncos. All right, I would assume a lot of people in the comments chose the Denver Broncos. They would rather be the Broncos. Why? Sean Payton. Sean Payton's cool. We like Sean Payton, right? Good coach. They have Bo Nix. Bo Nix is cool, right? Franchise quarterback. Denver made the playoffs last year. The playoffs are cool. We like that. Okay? Let's talk about the Denver Broncos. Now let's talk about how we view executives and why it's dangerous to view executives through a short window. So George Paton, the GM of the Broncos, became the GM in 2021. Now, why is that significant? Because that means this guy was the mastermind behind getting Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach, the mastermind behind trading for Russell Wilson, the mastermind behind extending Russell Wilson, the mastermind behind cutting Justin Simmons, okay? All within 4 years. In those 4 years, the Denver Broncos went 7-10, 5-12, 8-9, 10-7. Lost in the playoffs last year for an 0-1 record. 30-38 over the last 4 seasons. With, like I said, disastrous head coach, disastrous trade, disastrous quarterback release situation, all of that. Now, you may also notice that George Paton has no other executive experience. He doesn't have a Super Bowl to lean on. He doesn't have years and years of success to lean on. He doesn't have any of that, right? So, for those who answered they would rather be the Denver Broncos and they would rather have George Paton as the GM, do you change your answer now? Interesting question, okay? Just in case people are wondering, what was Mickey Loomis's record the last 4 seasons? What do you think the Saints' record is the last 4 seasons? Just go ahead and spitball a number out there, okay? Think about it. Last 4 seasons, Dennis Allen is the head coach, Pete Carmichael, then you get Clint Kubiak, then you fire Dennis Allen, then you get Kellen Moore. All right, now we've yet to see Kellen Moore. You sign Derek Carr, you don't extend Derek Carr, but restructure Derek Carr. Think about it all. What if I told you the exact same, 30-38, exact same record? All right. The only difference is instead of going 10-7 and 8-9, we went 9-8, 9-8. So we both teams went 7-10. Both teams went 5-12. We just went 9-8, 9-8, whereas they went 10-7 and 8-9. Okay. Now you may also notice something else. Let's talk about the Russell Wilson situation. Sean Payton becomes the head coach of the Broncos. All right. They tell Nathaniel Hackett, kick rocks. What does Sean Payton do? Sean Payton comes in and immediately releases Russell Wilson. Immediately. Came in, first thing he did that preseason. First thing he did was release Russell Wilson and said, you know what? Let's just take the cap hit. Let's just take the cap hit now. Let's just release him. We'll reset. We'll rebuild. That's what Sean Payton did. Kellen Moore didn't do that, right? Kellen Moore didn't do that because Kellen Moore can't stand up to Mickey Loomis, right? A coach like Sean Payton, he can stand up to ownership. Not Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, as some would say, is yellow belly. Hold on a second. I got a call. Hello? What? No, I'm doing a video. Yeah. Sean Payton didn't immediately release Russell Wilson? No. You sound like an idiot. Of course Sean Payton did. He stands up to ownership. He's not like Kellen Moore. He got to Denver and he immediately released Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson was a failed 33-year-old quarterback who they were paying a ton of money, and they took the dead cap. What? You mean that didn't happen at all? What? You hung up on me? What the hell? No. That's not what happened, right? Sean Payton got to Denver, and even after a disastrous year with Nathaniel Hackett, Russell Wilson, absolute embarrassment, okay? Absolutely disgusting, 5-12, the worst offense in the NFL, 32nd, okay, where Russell Wilson was terrible, 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, getting paid $250 million, all right? Got an extension, okay? Was extended. Remember, when he was traded for, he had 2 years on his deal. So they trade for him and say, you know what? 2 years ain't enough. Let's do a 5-year extension. $245 million. Okay? Sean comes in. They roll with Russell Wilson for another season. They will roll with Russell, and then they take the hit. Then, after that year, they take the hit. They offload Russell Wilson, and the rest is history. Okay, Russell Wilson, in fact, is still the largest salary cap hit with the Broncos in 2025. His dead cap hit was almost double. Derek Carr was $85 million. After designating him as a post-June 1st release, the Broncos spread the cap hit over the following 2 years, $53 million last year when Russell was a Steeler, and then $32 million in the upcoming year, 2025. So why am I telling you all this? What's the point? Why am I giving you this context? Because this is what we are doing. Right now, the New Orleans Saints are the year when Sean Payton got there. But in our situation, Kellen Moore is there. Fans have it mixed up with the timeline. They think we're the year after. We're the year before. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think Broncos fans are concerned right now about Russell Wilson? Do you think Broncos fans are concerned right now about this deal? Do you think Broncos fans are concerned about Sean Payton playing Russell Wilson his first season? Or are they excited they were in the playoffs last year? Are they excited what Bo Nix is doing? Are they excited to see what Sean Payton can do with this new quarterback? The answer is the latter. Now let's talk about something else. When they released Russell Wilson, okay, they had to. What's the thing we hear all the time? You gotta reset. You have to suck ass. You have to be bad. Rip the Band-Aid off. Take the dead cap hit. Be bad. Draft in the top 5. Get your franchise quarterback. And then what? But that's not what happened here. They bottomed out at 5-12. Sounds familiar. Then they come back with Russell Wilson. Go 8-9. Sounds familiar. Draft their quarterback outside of the top 10. And immediately turn it around. Go 10-7. Go to the playoffs. Everything's fine. How's that possible? Right? How's it possible? Ladies and gentlemen, you have to view things through a large lens in the NFL. the short-term noise does not matter. The short-term noise doesn't really matter at all. Eating these contracts, making a bad trade, a dead cap here, drafting outside the top 10 here, a bust quarterback here. The Eagles drafted Carson Wentz, second overall. Huge bust. What happened? They started winning Super Bowls. Did that bust pick matter? No. Could they have redone it and had a better pick and been a better team? Sure. For an executive, it's less about the very, very short and more about if something is messed up, if something is screwed up, or if you lose a player to injury or retirement or something doesn't work out, it's how can you pivot and how can you get out of it? The Broncos pivoted and got out of it. How did they pivot after their 5-12 season? Someone in the back. How did they pivot? What was the first thing they did? Somebody. This is an easy answer. Hired Sean Paton. Hired a new coach. Okay. Got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Hired a new coach. The Saints bottom out at 5-12. What did they do? Anybody? Fired their head coach. Hired Kellen Moore. Fired Dennis Allen. Wasn't working out. Hired Kellen Moore. Okay. Then what? What happened then? They offloaded Russell Wilson at the end of the next year, took the hit, restructured it over the next 2 years. Only way they could have fiscally handled it, drafted a quarterback, and on they went. All right? If you are here, if you're in this world right now, you have another year. Okay? You have another year until we get to where the Denver Broncos are now. So the Saints are doing what the Broncos did. You got to see the bigger picture. You have to see the writing on the wall. Mickey Loomis, George Paton are not going to come out in this world right here. So in 2023 for the Broncos, or right now for Mickey Loomis, they're not going to come out and say, we don't believe in Russell Wilson. We think he sucks ass. We're doing this, and this, whatever. You're going to come out there in the preseason and say, we think we can win with Russell Wilson. We're happy he's here. We're happy Russell Wilson's a Bronco, whatever. But the writing's on the wall. Sean Payton's here, right? Bad cap, bad move, bad money situation. Get out of it. You got to look past the noise, all right? Sean Payton arriving in Denver and choosing to go with Russell Wilson as a starter, that had nothing to do with Russell Wilson. That has all to do with that contract. That has all to do with what the hell can we do with this contract? How do we get him out of here? What do? We got to wait the next year. We got to go for the post-June 1st release. Then we have to restructure it. Then we have to spread it out over 2 years. That's it. No one's saying Sean Payton's a yellow belly right here. And no one is accusing the Denver Broncos, even after extending Russell Wilson for 5 years, no one is accusing them right here in the 8-9 season of believing that Russell Wilson can get them to a Super Bowl or believing that Russell Wilson can get them to the AFC. Just like no one right now should say that the Saints are bringing back Derek Carr because they believe in him to do this, or they believe that he's the future, or that this, and this. We got to be smarter. We got to be smarter when it comes to this. This is the year right here that I'm showing you. Think about Denver Broncos YouTube, Denver Broncos radio. Imagine the host screaming and crying and just slamming their fist and whining about Russell Wilson being back in a much worse situation. Much worse. Okay? Because they traded for Russell Wilson. They extended Russell Wilson. A much worse trade. Not even close. Okay? Not even close. Not even close to what signing Derek Carr did for the Saints. All right? So imagine this year, 2023, everyone's screaming, crying, cursing, fire George Paton, sell the team. The Waltons should sell the team. Sean Payton ain't this. Sean Payton ain't that. Sean Payton's lost. The game's gone by him. Whatever. 12 months later, I guarantee you Broncos YouTube ain't saying a word about Russell Wilson. They're not saying a word about fire George Paton. They're not saying a word about the Waltons should sell the team. Because just like that, $82 million dead cap goes away. It's in the ether. It's all being handled. Okay? Just in case you're wondering. Denver Broncos, relatively healthy cap situation. Broncos have about $52 million in cap space ahead of their free agency in March. They in cap hell, $82 million dead cap hit, restructured out, 2 additional years of paying him when he's not even on the team? No, he's not. You got to be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Just because these are mixed up, just because we just had the 5-12 year, and they're a couple years ahead of this restructure, doesn't mean the restructure isn't happening. Just because the Denver Broncos extended Russell Wilson, just because all that happened, doesn't mean they weren't getting younger. Doesn't mean they weren't shedding cap. Okay? Got to think about it differently. All right? I hope you learned something today. The goal on this channel, I'll tell you this. The goal of this channel is to view football, view the NFL, view the New Orleans Saints through a different lens. All right? If you want to get highly emotional, and if you want to in the comments and say, ooh, me no likey, bad man mascara, bad man, me no likey Derek Carr, that's fine. There's a million channels that do that every day. If you want to see the league in a smarter sense, if you want to see the game in a smarter sense, if you want to think about the game on an evolved level and on a higher level, you're at the right place. Okay? Now, last point. None of what we just said makes an excuse for George Paton, right? George Paton made a horrific decision to hire Nathaniel Hackett. Terrible decision. One of the most disgraceful things you've ever seen. Oh, also, Sean Payton's first year, it just so happened to be with the worst loss maybe in their franchise history when they gave up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins. And the Miami Dolphins could have set a record for points scored, and they chose not to. They showed mercy. Sean Payton starts off 0-3 with Russell Wilson as the quarterback, getting whatever it was, $245 million on a 5-year extension, and got rolled 70-20. You think people are talking about that right now? No. They're not. Started 1-5. You think people are talking about that? No. They're not. Okay? They're not. Now, does this give an excuse to George Paton? No. Horrible decision with Hackett. Horrible decision with trading for Russell Wilson. Horrible decision to extend Russell Wilson. You cut Justin Simmons. All that stuff. First year with Sean Payton didn't work out. 8-9. Gave up 70 points. Disgusting. Okay? But he got out of it, seemingly. Doesn't make excuses for it, but he got out of it, seemingly. And the Broncos are trending upwards. The Saints, do we make excuses for Mickey Loomis hiring Dennis Allen? No. Do we make excuses for Mickey Loomis promoting Pete Carmichael to OC? No. Do we make excuses for the Derek Carr signing? No. But Saints are in a bad spot. Now he's got to see if we can get out of it. Okay? That's it. We got Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore hasn't coached a game. He has barely even been in the state. Do we say fire Kellen Moore for sticking with Carr? Not any more than we were saying fire Sean Payton for sticking with Russell Wilson. Now these guys got to get out of it. Now they got to pivot. That's what the front office does. For Loomis, he can point to 11-5, 13-3, 13-3, 12-4 before these last 4 years. Payton can't point to that. Payton can't point to that. All right? He probably should have been fired, honestly. Because he didn't have the goodwill that Mickey does. He didn't have all the success. He's had nothing but failures, but they stuck with him. Payton chose to stick with him. If you want to know why they did. Payton went to bat for him. Sean Payton. Sean Payton went to bat for him and said, I trust him. That's why they stuck with him. If you really want to know how he didn't get fired. Because after releasing Russell, after all the failure, you would think, yeah, he'd go to. But Sean Payton wanted to work with him. That's what it was. Sounds similar to Kellen Moore and Mickey Loomis, to be honest. But before we go making Kellen Moore walk the plank, remember this. Okay? Now get down in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know your questions. I want to know your thoughts. I wanted to know if this kind of makes you think about it differently, or if you're still reeing because me no likey Derek Carr. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching. I love doing this. I love being the face of the franchise. I love being the most watched, most listened to, #1 in the ratings creator, really not even creator, but just voice in New Orleans sports media. And that's all because of each and every one of you. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next video.